Yet another healing by God. You have to watch this. This one's 4 minutes, but the testimony is incredible. This woman, her before and after it's godly. You have to watch this. It's time to believe. The outpouring of Holy Spirit in the last days is here now.
Multiple sclerosis. She was diagnosed at the Mayo Clinic, so we have all those records from the Mayo Clinic. She deteriorated very quickly. And over the next decade or so, she had multiple hospitalizations to the point where one of her doctors said she is one of the most hopelessly ill patients I've ever treated. And finally, they said, next time she gets pneumonia, which she got periodically, we're just gonna have to let her die because we're just prolonging the inevitable. So here she is in hospice, she's dying at her home. She has a tube in her throat connected to oxygen canisters in the garage to feed so she could breathe. She's curled up like a pretzel. Her fingers are touching her wrists. Her feet are extended rigidly. She hadn't walked in 7 years, and so her muscle tone had disappeared. She had one lung was collapsed. The other one was at 50%. She had lost her vision, so all she could see was gray shapes. She wasn't totally blind, but just saw gray shapes. She lost control of her bowels and her urination. And here she is, she's dying. And so somebody called up WMBI, the Christian radio station at Moody Bible Institute in Chicago, because she lived in Wheaton, Illinois, and said, would you just ask people to pray for this poor woman who's dying? Well, we documented that over 450 people began praying for her because they wrote her letters saying, I'm praying for you. So on Pentecost Sunday, she's there in her bedroom, and she has two friends who are reading her some of these letters of people saying they're praying for you. And all of a sudden, she hears a voice from the corner of the room, the voice of God, saying, get up, my child, and walk.
Wow.
And she pulls the tube from her throat so she could talk, and she says, God just told me to get up and walk. Go get my parents. And so they ran out to get her, but she couldn't wait. She jumped out of bed.
And she hasn't walked in 7 years?
She hadn't walked in 7 years. And I'll tell you something, I talked to her about it. And I said, what was that like? And she said, it was the strangest thing. She said, I jumped out of bed. She said, the first thing I noticed was my feet were flat on the ground. And my feet hadn't been flat in years. And then the second thing I noticed, my hands had come uncurled. And she said, the third thing I noticed, I could see.
Wow.
And she said, you'd think that'd be the first thing I'd notice. It was the third thing I noticed. Her mother comes in, falls to her knees, grabs her calves and said, your muscles have come back.
Oh my God.
Well, it's Pentecost Sunday. They go to their church to thank God. And there's a service that night. The service had already started. The pastor gets up and says, does anybody have any announcements?
Boy, do I.
Boy, do I. So Barbara comes walking down the center aisle. The place freaks out because they'd never seen her except in a wheelchair for 7 years. And they began singing Amazing Grace. I once was blind and now I see.
Wow.
And the next day she goes to one of her doctors. And he said later, he said, when I saw her walking toward my office, my first thought was, oh, she died and this is a ghost. Because this is medically impossible. And two doctors ended up writing about it in